My name is Caroline Fajeda, Chief of Staff at Edge and Node. Welcome to the Q3 2024 Graph Network Participant Update Call. It's exciting that we have so many represented today, indexers, delegators, supporters on the call. We will be sharing a Q&A link throughout the presentation for any questions to be answered at the end of this presentation. As always, a quick disclaimer that there are no forward-looking statements in this presentation, and we do ask that any AI-generated meeting recorders, note takers, otters, bots be disabled. The agenda for the call today includes the Q3 2024 snapshot, a core initiatives update, GIP update, ecosystem updates, network stats, and of course, we'll end with a Q&A. And with that, I'll kick it off to Max Tang, CFO at Edge and Node, to begin with the Q3 snapshot.
Thanks, Caroline. Okay, so let's take a look at a snapshot. So third quarter 24 Curie fee was 206,000. It represented an 83% quarter-over-quarter increase and an 821% year-over-year increase. From first quarter 22 through third quarter 24, Curie fee grew at a compound annual growth rate of 221%. Third quarter Curie volume was about 5.3 billion. It represented a 79% quarter-over-quarter increase and an 856% year-over-year increase. From first quarter 22 through third quarter 24, Curie volume grew at an annual compound growth rate of about 192%. Curie price was $39 per million Curies. It represented a 2.2% quarter-over-quarter increase, but a 3.7% year-over-year decrease. We're doing pricing studies at this moment, and once it's done, we will communicate any needed changes to ecosystem participants. The overarching goal for this study is adoption. We are entering a golden age of crypto post-election in the United States. Anecdotally, we're hearing many projects launching or prepared to launch once the uncertainties get settled. We intend to capture as much market share as possible for these new projects. Subgraph is still the golden standard for blockchain data ETL. No other technology has reached the maturity or stability that Subgraph has. Additionally, Substreams is expected to go live on the network by the end of this year, which will unlock streaming use cases for non-EVM chains. We'll run as fast as possible in 2025. With that, let me turn it over to Eva.
Awesome, thanks. Let's jump in. So as every participant update, we go over the roadmap and the core initiatives that we're working on to get ourselves throughout that roadmap. So just a reminder of our current view of the way we view our ecosystem and the efforts we're doing. If we want to move to the next slide. So a really exciting update over the last month is increased support for Solana. As everyone knows, we've been multi-chain supporting over 50 chains for many years now, including Solana. But the breakthrough over the last several months has been just increased engineering prowess from the Graph and Solana communities that have led to an increased number of substreams modules that have hit production. And that basically means that there's a lot more Solana use cases that we're able to support. In particular, the team Propeller Heads has really put in a lot of work over the last 6 months to kind of revolutionize the way that they're using substreams. And given substreams and Firehose are best suited for Solana, just given the way that the Solana blockchain operates, we're really encouraged about that trend. So we're excited to see more dApps leverage substreams and Firehose to scale their applications. We've also been working really hard to get substreams officially part of the network, so fully supported on the network. We've had several indexers that have been running Firehose for some time now, and so now we're just finalizing some of the multi-chain support functions on the infrastructure side, so that might be some testing, as well as on the protocol side. As always, we're continuing to work on our verifiable data story. So for the graph, again, that means verifying that the data that's been extracted and the data that's being served is verified. We recognize there are very many different kinds of use cases, and verifiable data is only one of them. Many use cases don't need that verifiability, but for the ones that do, we're really excited about the progress that we've seen. In particular, we've had several ZK co-processing teams actually look at leveraging the graph's verifiable data, so building directly on top of the graph. You can think of this as actually more strategic than just a user consuming the graph directly, because they're building on top of the verifiable fire hose as a means of actually ensuring that their data is verifiable for perhaps smart contract querying or any other kind of on-chain data use cases. So at the moment, we have completed all of the verification of the pre-merge blocks. We're working on post-merge blocks, and over Q1, we'll start to see a lot more testing go live, and looking to likely launch in late Q1, early Q2. Scalar Tap is officially shipped. This was a multi-year effort from research to implementation. So at this point, I believe, had over 50%. Oh, yes. So now it's over 60% queries are on the network via Scalar Tap. We are pushing a migration deadline for indexers to make sure they get up and running. And as a reminder, the benefits of Scalar Tap really are enabling more efficient payments, and to set up a standard way for indexers to enable payments and allocations for many different kinds of data services. So really that's part of the scaling strategy that we're employing, is making sure that indexers are able to serve queries or serve the services on the network, regardless if that's a subgraph, substream, or every other data service that's coming down the pipe. We continue on our journey of deprecating L1. So as you remember, we've been migrating to Arbitrum L2 since last year. So we're very close to that. You might have already seen some updates on the UI, really focusing every experience on Arbitrum and what the user's doing on Arbitrum. There are still some functions that users will be able to do. So users still have access to all their funds on L1, but we do encourage everyone to start migrating if you haven't already, just to make sure you're also taking advantage of the rewards in the network. Horizon has continued to be a really incredible effort that has actually brought in many different parties across the ecosystem. So we're working with a few different grantees to actually help us out in ensuring that Horizon is production ready. We'll work with many different kinds of stakeholders in the ecosystem over the next several months in kind of beta testing to make sure that the protocol is ready for prime time. At the moment, we've already completed one audit and we're entering a second audit. We're feeling really excited about the direction that Horizon is heading as the data services protocol. And we released a GIP about this in August, just outlining the vision of Horizon and really ensuring more modularity within the graph. So the goal of Horizon is to kind of limit some of the manual, maybe like operational driven ways that we get to update the protocol today, and making it a little bit more permissionless. Cool. And just summarizing where we're at on some of these GIPs, the accepted ones and the candidate ones I mentioned a little bit about. So Scalar Tap, deprecating L1. Most of the GIPs that we're focusing on heading into Q1 and the new year will focus on Horizon and really getting Horizon across the line. So that includes things like indexing fees, getting ready for just like publication of Horizon. We've been making a lot of updates as well to the oracles, the optimistic Epoch Block Oracle. We've been working the last few months with Wonderland on. So really exciting to see some of these decentralization milestones come to production in Q1. And pass it up to Etienne.
Thank you very much, Eva. Hey guys, it's great to be on the call, and today I'm gonna give you some update on ecosystem, on what we have done and what we have seen some ecosystem partners over the last quarter. So at the first news, you may have seen, but Coinbase launched its own benchmark called the Coinbase 50. It was released about a few weeks ago. If you want to learn more, I invite you to read more on their blog post. But the big news was the graph was actually one of the top 50. As a benchmark, it was created using fundamental data. So, it's great to see us being part of this list. So yeah, this is great. Another news also, so we have been working with the team at Base. As a reminder, Base is an L2 part of Coinbase, which I believe is one of the fastest growing ecosystem. And we have been working to have an ability to have GRT on the Base chain. So we work on the engineering side for the past couple of months. The contract code is done, and now it is deployed. The final item is a vote from the council, which I believe will be done really soon. So this is quite exciting because it opened up, like the door around DeFi ecosystem, as well as pretty much anything that the ecosystem wants to see on Base. Another news also, so the team at Block Scout on the graph has announced a partnership. So we have released, I believe, the news last week. So as a reminder, Block Scout is an open source explorer. They have a marketplace, which is a great one. You can find a list of dApps. And now once you go there, you can see for each dApps their own subgraph. On top of that, the team at Block Scout is using the data from subgraph to improve their rating for each dApp. The first use case as ecosystem is the Northeast. So if you go on the Block Scout and look on dApps on the Northeast chain, you will see this information. And another news from one of our core devs, so Semiotic, which has been a core dev now for a number of years, they release a recent new research paper called SynQL. SynQL is a deep dive around synthetic data generation, and it just got approved to be discussed as a new IPS 2024, and I invite you all, if you want to learn more about it, to have a look on the link. Thank you. Another news, so I think we have talked about this great team at InfraDAO now for the past year and a half. As a reminder, InfraDAO run an indexer. The lead of the team is Yan. The indexer now has grown in size. It has one of the top APR. And on top of that, the team has been very strong to work on documentation. So if you are an indexer and want to learn more or have any question on subgraph, as well as how to run in a better and more efficient way an indexer, I invite you to connect with the team. As well as running an indexer and providing documentation information, the team at InfraDAO run also new chain tests. And so for the past quarter, some of the chains that they have done include Moonbeam, Fuse, as well as Blast. And finally, so we wanted also to give some highlight as some events that we have done. So the first one in October, hackathon, which was done at House of Web3 in San Francisco. It was a great event. We have about 75 people who hack, and we had a winner called Dao Saster, who won as a best new subgraph. On top of this event, we have another great event called Datapalooza. The first one was about a year ago. This was the second Datapalooza. It was part of DEF CON, and it was a great success. We had about 1,600 sign-ups, and we had about 15 speakers from industry, including people from Flashbot and Aztec, as well as more. And finally, as a reminder, we are a supporter of House of Web3. House of Web3 hosts great events. So if you are in San Francisco, I recommend you to go there. We have about 800 active members, which I would say are from the top company in the space. We host great events from hackathon to company events, as well as some venture fund events. So, I would really recommend you next time when you are in SF to go there. And now I let Max to give some more information. Thank you, Max.
Thanks, Yiqian. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, yeah. As mentioned, third quarter 24 Curie fees was $206,000. It represented a 83% quarter-over-quarter increase and an 821% year-over-year increase. From first quarter 22 through third quarter 24, Curie fees grew at a compound annual growth rate of 221%. The increase in Curie fees was primarily driven by our Sunrise initiative. We saw a surge of projects of all sizes in June and July. We did see a tail off in August, since we typically encourage projects to optimize their queries once they start paying on the pay-as-you-go tier. That said, most of these projects stayed after the transition, so people are generally happy about network quality of service, which we will talk about a little bit in a second. Curie price was $39 per million queries. It represented a 2.2% quarter-over-quarter increase, but a 3.7% year-over-year decline. As mentioned, we're doing pricing studies, and we'll communicate any changes with you soon. Let's go to the next slide. Third quarter 24 Curie volume was 5.3 billion. It represented a 79% quarter-over-quarter increase and a 856% year-over-year increase. From first quarter 22 through third quarter 24, Curie volume grew at an annual compound growth rate of 192%. This is driven mostly by the increase in the number of subgraphs on the network. We saw 9,600 subgraphs being queried, representing a 46% quarter-over-quarter increase and a 12 times year-over-year increase. As of third quarter 24, we had over 10,000 subgraphs marked as active on the network. Following 5,000 subgraphs created in second quarter, we had another 3,000 subgraphs created in third quarter. The rate of growth has tailed off since the completion of Sunrise, so we do expect a more moderate rate of growth going forward. An outlier, of course, is substream volume, which is expected to be concluded in first quarter 25. We ended the quarter with 380 active paying data consumers. This represented a 59% quarter-over-quarter increase and a 41% year-over-year increase. If you recall, last quarter we introduced a free tier for studio users. So some data consumers that were paying as of first quarter 24 got the benefit of free tier in second quarter, which contributed to decline in second quarter. This idiosyncratic decline got normalized in third quarter. Then we ended the quarter with about 80 consumers with more than 10 million queries a month on the network. Annualized inflation was pretty stable for third quarter. It was 2.65%. Curie's success rate for the quarter was 99.6%. In terms of latency, our P50 latency came down a little bit to over 150 milliseconds. Our P90 improved as well at about 400 milliseconds. We are quite happy about quality of service given the substantial increase in query volume on the network. Then we ended the quarter with 121 active indexers. It was a slight decline from previous quarters, but pretty consistent with our expectation. We have not seen any significant churn among indexers that actively serve queries on the network, so network quality of service remained pretty stable. We had 178,000 delegators on the network as of third quarter 24. It represented an increase of about 4,000 delegators. The surge from prior quarters tailed off as the Coinbase Learn and Earn campaign took a pause. Then, as of third quarter, about 2.7 billion GRT was staked on the network. It represented a stake ratio of about 25%. There's room to improve this ratio, but it is already in the target zip code compared with other decentralized protocols with a more diverse holder bases, such as Ethereum, which at this moment is at about 28.4%. With that, let me turn it over to Caroline.
Thanks, Max. So how you can help, we've got a few key positions across the Graph ecosystem. At Edge and Node, we're hiring 3 engineers. The Graph Foundation is looking for an events coordinator. As always, co-create at the House of Web3 in San Francisco. I'll share all these links in the chat shortly. You can join the next monthly Core Dev call led by the Graph Foundation. It's this Thursday, the 21st at 9 a.m. Pacific. Move your delegation to L2 if you haven't done so already, and continue to delegate on the Graph to help secure the network. Okay, Q&A. Thanks everyone for submitting your questions. Feel free to keep submitting or ask any live in the chat while I pull up the submissions. Okay, the first question. What is the safest bridge for bridging GRT from Arbitrum to Ethereum? From Omri.
Yeah, so I believe the canonical bridge is two-way, but we can chat offline about this, unless somebody else knows about this.
Okay, next question. When can we expect the findings from the pricing study to be released?
Yeah, we will not release a formal finding, but we will communicate the actual pricing change with ecosystem participants. It should be in about 1 to 2 months, so early next year.
Next question on Coin50. Etienne mentioned a blog post on the Graph blog, or is it on another blog? Etienne, do you have that reference?
Yes. So it's actually on the Coinbase blog, and I can just share it after on this. And so on the Coinbase blog, you will have some information on the benchmark as well as the other crypto assets. Thank you.
And then Etienne mentioned a link on the paper. Please provide it. We will share that link in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Question from Quentin. I recently saw that the Graph listed a position to hire a tokenomics researcher. Can you offer any general commentary on the issues that inspired this posting? Is this for token use refinement, expansion, or both?
Yeah, so we are doing a pretty substantial protocol upgrade, as mentioned, called Horizon. Horizon entails a lot of protocol changes, which includes tokenomics changes. So we've been thinking about hiring a tokenomics researcher. It's not a must hire, so it's still, let's say, in contemplation. unless you have any other specific follow-ups. I would say that for at least for EdgeNode, our hiring criteria is we want people who are crypto native. So people who have worked at other projects, who have who already know the ecosystem, and who hold, especially people who hold decentralization ideals that are similar with our ethos. Those people we value the most.
Is the Graph Foundation or any of the core developer teams considering incentivizing new indexers, perhaps with a program similar to the MIPS initiative launched 2 years ago?
That's a great question. I would say that we have learned a lot from our past incentive programs, even, starting from our early testnet. So, it's definitely possible that we'll have future incentive programs. Naturally, grants and retroactive grants are always open. But we are looking to sort of evolve the protocol to be a bit smarter around how it rewards indexers. So indexing fees and some of what's coming down the pipe from Horizon will actually help that. And so although that's not an incentive program, the goal of these updates is to make sure that the indexers that are actually serving queries are getting rewarded more than indexers that are a little bit more passive and might just be extracting from the protocol.
Next question. What customer archetypes disproportionately contribute to revenue, and how to reach more of those users?
That's a great question. So the dominant type of customer is still swap use cases, so decentralized exchanges. We've been in pretty close contact with large exchanges, large decentralized exchanges, and there's still room to grow there, especially for newer blockchain use cases, because historically our forte is being EVM compatible chains. Now we're entering a multi-chain world, especially with our Solana initiative. There is quite a bit of room to grow in these non-EVM use cases, so we are doing a lot of work there.
That was the last submitted question. Does anyone have any other questions that they'd like to ask? We will be sharing a recording of this call plus the deck and a little recap. So if you think of any questions later today, you can feel free to respond to our email with those, and we'll get back to you. Thank you everyone for joining. Great questions. We really appreciate it. I believe our next call will be in February after the new year. So happy holidays to all, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.